The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
Stu, we've made it. I didn't think this podcast was going to happen this week. What an absolute pain in the backside a certain internet service provider is. But we are here. Hooray. On a Thursday, as usual. Nick Draper with Stuart Deakins, the face of the BBC Sport website. And it's all very, very positive now, isn't it? This is so weird. I don't really know how to react or what to talk about, Stu, because we're just not used to being, dare I say it, despite the fact we're still bottom of the league, good.
Well, yeah, it's... Do you know what, this could have similarities to the season that we got promoted into League One, in terms of, we all know then that we hit the form at the right time, and you have to say at the moment, if you're ever going to be in the top 3 of the form guide, you want to make sure it's at this part of the season. So you have to say that... yeah, as you know, as we did in the season we went up, we were like, oh, do you know what, the form team normally wins the playoff? We did. At this stage, the form team tends to put a run together and gets themselves out of trouble. We are currently that team. So, hey, look, I said to you ages ago, you don't give in until it's mathematically impossible for you to catch up. Now, mathematically, well, the world is our oyster.
I wouldn't say the world is our oyster, perhaps, but we are certainly in with a good chance. We are in amongst the pack right now, and that is pretty much what we're going to be talking about this week. We'll be talking about the 2 wins in a week that we've had, the 2 clean sheets we've had, which is now 3 in a row. We've got talking points as well. We're going to talk about the appointment of Nick Dawes as head of recruitment. We're also going to touch on the subject of international call-ups for one of our strikers. And that'll pretty much be it before we look ahead to what is now a 6-pointer, which is incredible. It really is a 6-pointer against Southend, of all teams. A massive game on Saturday. But in terms of talking points, Stu, for the last week, the 2-0 win over Doncaster, the 1-0 win against Peterborough on Tuesday night, I want to start by talking about red cards because, as I have said, and you have said for seemingly forever on this podcast, we are far too nice. And we said that we need to be a little bit more savvy in our dealings, in what we do, a little bit, some might say sneaky, some might say underhanded. I'd just say being smart, like every other team in the division seems to be. And I think we've got 2 players sent off this week that arguably should not have been sent off. Which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the one that's freshest in the mind, the penalty that won us a game against Peterborough?
Yeah. I've...
Never a penalty.
Well, yeah, do you know what? I think this is one of those ones that when you, on reflection, it's never a penalty. But let's remember, the referees at the current time only get real time. So they get the speed that it's happened at, they get the angle that they're at, and they don't get the benefit now of VAR or goal line technology or anything like that. And I don't know about you, but if I actually judge it at the time of the event, I thought it was a clear-cut penalty. You know, great flick on a great ball by, was it Wordsworth? Who put the pass? No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Was it Wordsworth?
Yeah, it was. It was
Wordsworth
yeah.
put the one touch pass. I think if you look at it, Connolly got goal side, got the run, went in on goal. Yes, of course, he deviates over the line. Thing is, he was a bit naive in terms of what he needed to do was get across his line quicker because then the defender was out of the game. But he also realised that he can't shoot. So he basically done the best. He fell over. But in how I look at it, at the real time, I thought it was the most clear-cut penalty. You know, like normally you and I were first looking at the referee going, yeah, you can give it. I actually celebrated before it was gave as a penalty because I just knew it was a pen. But of course, when you look back at it, and slow-mos never do him any favours, we got one there. But, you know, as many fans have said already on social media, that really gives us the little bit of the luck we needed when we didn't get penalties early in the season, and we got some really rubbish decisions that didn't help us early on.
Yeah, I mean, the one that always sticks in my mind is Coventry, first home game of the season when Wagstaff gets taken out in the box. It was a stone wall penalty that wasn't given. So sometimes these things, they even themselves out, or at least they attempt to over the season. There's two things about this Connolly penalty I want to touch on. One is that you mentioned there at the time, because at the time I totally 100% agree with you. Our views were very similar. I thought it was a penalty straight away. I was calling for a red card straight away. I was convinced because it was like a last man foul. You just seemed to take him out. I don't think it was a genuine attempt to get the ball, but that was my view at the time. But anyway, as Darren Ferguson, the Peterborough manager, pointed out afterwards, the referee's quite a distance. Because I'm thinking you and I, we're quite a distance away from it. So we're in a position where it's not up to us to give the decision. Do you know what I mean? So for a referee, he has to be 100% sure, and he was quite a way off. So perhaps we've benefited there from a ref being, I don't know what the word is for it, but generous is the wrong word. If you want to use that one, I wouldn't have said that for perhaps the majority of the game.
If you're at the game, and we're going to say last night because people would know that we recorded it last night. Well, we recorded it tonight, but it would have been last night, because there's no way to do it. But let's be honest with you, right? He gave us nearly every 50-50 decision in the first half, and then obviously Darren Ferguson got into him at half-time, reportedly, and basically gave us nothing the whole second half. So you say that, he benefited. He gave us nothing the second half, but what he did do was gave us the most, well, I think that is a massive moment in our season. It's, I think that could be the turning point of our season. So well done, referee. When you next down at Foul Lane, when you next down at Kings Meadow.
Yeah, we're working with open arms all the time. The second thing there is just, as you mentioned with Connolly there, kind of has the chance of it, as you say, for shooting, has perhaps eluded him. He's got the pace to get around the defender, but it's almost like he's too quick, and before he knows it, he's on top of the goalkeeper. He's just so funny. He's just gone down so easily. It's hilarious.
But very smart, though. How old is Connolly? Early 20s?
23, is he?
23. Do you know what? Very smart, because in the end, the game changer was Hansen and Connolly both coming on, and Connolly was just like, if anyone can win I don't think he did, but if anyone can win a man of match in 20 minutes, then that is a performance that we'll do. We go through what, the game as we talk about it, but that was a massive moment. In the end, he got us a penalty, which we scored. He put them down to 10 men, which put us in the upper hand. Whether I wouldn't say cheated, because we said many times before on the continent, it's just the gamesmanship. That's what it was. In my opinion, the defender got himself in a bad position. And in the end, he had to try and do something. And Connolly has gone across him, yes, but realistically, there's nothing. The defender is just literally trying to get anything on the ball, and in the end, brings him down. It's game over. Whether it's a red card, I'm not a lover of. It's a clear goal scoring opportunity, unless you know Connolly, and you probably think it isn't, because I don't think he's the best one-on-one finisher. But you just think penalties are harsh enough. Unless you're a Wimbledon fan and you're biased, then of course you want him sent off.
I think we're all just we've got got the taste for having red cards all of a sudden, because we had the one on Saturday as well. I do want to come back to Connolly. I want to come back to the substitutions. But before we do that, to reference what I was saying about the referees, on Saturday against Doncaster, same thing. Marquis has got sent off. Aaron Ramsdale has got him sent off. It's never ever something we would have ever done in possibly actually since we reformed as AFC Wimbledon in 2002, going back all that time. Just being a bit devilish, really.
But do you think that's Wally and Glyn giving them the? Yes. Or do you think that's just basically Ramsdale's background? He's at a Premiership club. We all know Premiership clubs are well coached and well schooled. I think it's just I don't know if it's a Wally thing. I think that's a Ramsdale thing. He's just a pest, isn't he? And I don't necessarily think the referee saw everything that happened on Saturday.
No.
Because what happens sometimes, doesn't he? When the ball's got, when the ball, he gets the ball, normally the referee then is trying to get a good position, so trying to then move up the field because he knows it's going to be a quick breakaway. And we can't see it because, our games are not covered by 20,000 cameras like all the Premiership games are.
20,000 cameras.
Slight exaggeration. It feels that way sometimes.
Slight exaggeration.
But we don't have the benefit of multiple cameras. But my gut feeling is I reckon the assistant referee and the referee were both literally looking the other way. And then when they've turned round, they've seen, obviously, Marcus around the keeper. Keeper's good, let's be fair. Ramsdale's got a bit lonely and just hugged him a bit, and he, do you know what I mean? Goes, give me your arm. But I think they just made it up because they thought that's obviously what's happened. But we all know that Marcus, let's be fair, Marquis was trying to get it out of the way of Ramsdale as quick as he could. And just Ramsdale was like, nope, you're not getting out of my way.
And you're right, it could be some extra savviness that he's got from playing or being coached at a high level. I mean, even at his young age. But I've said this in the last few weeks, over the course of the last few weeks. I've noticed it with our players a lot more. The not feigning injury, but basically going down a little bit easier, making the most of challenges, and just getting the referee's ear a bit. And it's all those little things that like we've always said, every other team does. That whether or not that particular incident is born of management or the player just in the spur of the moment, surely the management are saying something so that thought is in the back of their head. It's like Inception. They've planted the idea in their brain somehow, and when the situation arises, because that idea is there, lingering, they then decide to do something which might gain us advantage. And don't forget, what Ramsdale did in that situation, he was no risk of getting in any trouble for doing it, was he? If the referee had looked at it and gone, what's gone on there, if he'd have judged Ramsdale to be at fault, he wouldn't have booked him or anything like that, would he? He'd just been like, what are you doing? Cut it out.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? You're right. You're spot on about Waddy. I think Ramsdale, it's just come with that because it's not something that he's learned. He was like that, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? Very quick distribution, moaning. He's just a whinge, isn't he? But he's great for us. But, you know, Waddy, the manager, when he first said, he talked about the fact that a lot of goals now come from restarts and set pieces. So let's not be stupid enough to think that he won't be going to his players, you know, get free kicks in dangerous positions, because we are dangerous. You know, one thing I noticed about Tuesday night was the delivery that Wordsworth was putting in for corners was brilliant, and how we didn't get on the end of any. You know, in the second half we did. I'm trying to think at the top of my head. I think it was Wordsworth from a corner that Hansen got on the end of. You know, crying out for a big man. But no, I think you're right. I think Wally has told them. I still don't think we're anywhere near as cute as we should be. But I can only see it getting better. But you know, not to digress too much. We're going to go on to Southend a bit later. But Southend conceded goals. Nearly all their goals are set pieces against Scunthorpe on Tuesday night, where they lost 4-1. So if we can get our delivery right, they're going to be doing well to defend against us.
And Aaron Ramsdale, as you say, an absolute pest, someone you absolutely love, possibly currently, perhaps behind Will Nightingale, everyone's favourite AFC Wimbledon player at present time.
Mm.
And just how did he come to playing with us? When was the deal done? When was the deal agreed?
Well, we're led to believe, aren't we? With the actual, we had him lined up, and Tom King was the one that we got in the end, wasn't it? We're led to believe that it was actually Neil Ardley, not recruitment, but it was someone that was on our radar. You can only assume that he just wasn't available. I can't believe for the life of me now that we went for Tom King over Ramsdale, because there is a gulfing class between the two, isn't there?
Oh yeah, no doubt. And Ramsdale might be the most talented goalkeeper we've ever had, and that sounds, people are going to be like, come on, that's hyperbole. He's only been here for like 6 games or whatever it is, but I don't know yet. I can't think.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Who's better?
You're right. Some of the saves he makes, it's really weird, isn't it? Right? When he first came, we were like, wow, he's too good for us. You know, some of the stuff he was doing. He's a great character. Do you know what I mean? Like we put something on our Twitter this morning, Wednesday morning, of someone, and Nina, obviously one of the people we know, who recorded his reaction from behind a goal on a penalty. And if you think for 1 minute lone players don't get it, then he is breaking that myth big time, isn't he? Him and Steve Seddon, who again I thought was excellent on Tuesday night. But I think the thing with Ramsdale now is that actually you're more surprised when he gets beat by anything, because he generally he pulls off probably 2 saves that are levels above what we are. He did it again on Tuesday night. There's a cross shot went across him. He got a finger tip to it. But actually, you don't really. It's weird in a way that I don't really go as mad now, because do you know what? He set such a level that's standard for him. You're actually more surprised when he gets beat.
Yeah, no, genuinely. Like, you sat there, or I'm sat there on Tuesday night thinking we're not going to concede a goal, and there's a couple of reasons for that, but also one of them is exactly that chance that you just mentioned there, the shot across goal. How he gets a fingertip to it, I don't know. At that point, he must be feeling invincible. At that point, nothing's going to get past him, with the help of maybe an offside later on. But these things wouldn't have gone for us, by the way, earlier in the season, like I say. And these red cards and penalty decisions would not have gone for us earlier in the season. It is built at the moment, this form, isn't it, on 2 things for me. Like you've mentioned, substitutions, massively important. But more importantly than that, the way we set up to frustrate teams and not let them in behind and keep it tight and basically stay in the game. That's what Wally said, isn't it, in his post-match interview after Peterborough. Stay in the game as long as you can and then look to win the game. And that's when your substitutions come in and you bring on some pace and some fresh legs that can hurt teams. That's exactly what we've done to a T, with a little bit of help along the way. But it's working. And let's be fair, that's 2 teams, what were they? 6th and 7th in the league. They're not victories to be sniffed at whatsoever. And it's just keeping things simple, isn't it? It's clever management. Keep it simple, work with what you've got, and take your chances when it comes.
Yeah, and I think I was really pleased with the interview, actually, that he did on the official site after the game, because he was of course, it's very easy when you've won a game to hold your hands up and go, look, maybe I didn't do this and do that. But actually, he was honest and said, he made mistakes, that he was trying to go too gung-ho and, like you say, stay in games and really win the right to get on top of teams. Home games for us are difficult because we have had some drubbings at home and really poor performances, and the weight of expectation has really played on them big time. But I think the best thing, and Aaron Paul joined me last night from Love Sport Radio, and he was saying he was really surprised. They were looked at the bench. He was like, "You got Bartram on the bench, Hanson on the bench," and I sort of said to him, "I said, you know what? They're massive. I don't think Hanson can play more than 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the moment, but that's nothing. There's no problem in that." And Connolly and Bartram just don't fit into the system. And he looked at me really strangely. But we play 3-5-2 at the moment, and at the moment I don't see how Bartram or Connolly can play in the wing backs. They're just not wing backs. But what he is, you have to admire what he's done, is that he's found a formation that works with 3 centre halves. Probably 3 centre halves that we wouldn't have picked if we looked at the start of the season. Would you have picked those 3? Unlikely. But they're so solid. Through the spine of the team, we're so solid. And the wing backs are working. Steve Seddon is basically not a left wing back, is he? He's in the box more than Piggott is. But it works perfectly. And when he has to make the substitutions, he gets them right. And we changed to a 3-4-3 last night. And Peterborough were just done. They had a torrid time, and to say we could have won that game 2 or 3-0 is not an understatement. The substitutions were spot on. It's the first time I feel we've had a bench that has game changers on there, because we've said many times before this season, we've had like for like, nothing really major, but for once we have game changers, and it's a breath of fresh air at the moment.
Yeah, and is it so much? Well, it is, of course, the personnel involved in the substitutions, but especially on Tuesday night, it's not just the players coming on, it's the subtle change in the formation, isn't it? Like you say, from 3-5-2, 3-4-3 instead. Because I didn't think, once again, and I know we're going to... Joe Piggott, okay, again.
Yeah, it's a topic to
he's
discuss,
not.
yeah.
Thing is, he scored the winning goal, so you can't really have any arguments about it. But when Falevi comes off, not Piggott, I'm kind of going, I really don't get on the evidence of what I'd seen prior to that moment. But anyway, actually, with Joe playing forward in a 3 as opposed to a 2 up front, and Hanson being one of those 3, and actually someone that can challenge in the air and make the ball stick, actually gets a little bit more out of Piggott, doesn't it? And that was important in then us pushing them back in the latter stages on Tuesday.
Joe Piggott had an average game up until Hanson and Connolly come on. And then when them two come on, all of a sudden his performance went up. We discussed it already between us anyway, but what we found was that Hansen did the donkey work, so he was the main focus, and Piggott was able to go out wide left, Conley was on wide right, and within 5 minutes, we had a bit of a joke, actually, it's quite funny, where we were sitting on the side, their fullback, when Conley come on, someone shouted to go, hey, look, he's really quick, and the fullback pointed at Conley, he's like, what, you mean him? And literally within 5 minutes, they were doubling up. Because Conley's great, because he just gets the ball and runs. Sometimes he runs down blind alleys, but what he does is defenders automatically drop off because they actually don't want to get done by pace, which then gives space to people around that. And Piggott actually benefited from Conley and Hansen, because Hansen did the dirty work, winning the ball, making it stick, making himself awkward, and Piggott could then join in. And Piggott looked a different player with Hansen alongside him. And I think what it basically says is that Piggott is just not a centre forward that can play up against a centre half. He just can't do that job. He's not strong enough. But what I would say, for all the criticism I've given Piggott, the penalty under that pressure was immense. And do you know what? He done a John Fashanu two-step. Well, he just knocked it. He knocked it. The kick went, didn't he? But the substitutions were brilliant. I think you have to put full credit to Wally and Glynn for that, because it's like, in a way, they knew that was going to happen. And Wally got a little bit agitated when Chris Lavin actually said that was a dramatic win, and he looked really surprised, thinking that wasn't dramatic. I can't remember the words he used now, but he didn't think that was dramatic, because actually I think that's how he planned the game to go, and it come off brilliantly last night.
Yeah, like I say, the plan worked to a T, and it was a similar story on the Saturday against Doncaster. In amongst all of this positivity, is there a slight, perhaps, argument that both teams were disappointing? Were you disappointed considering these are playoff chasing teams? I thought Doncaster, both teams for me are teams that like to get the ball down and they like to play pretty football. It was a case, I felt I was watching Louis van Gaal's Man United. It was pass and pass and pass and pass and pass and pass. They weren't getting anywhere. That's partly because we sat men behind the ball, and also they didn't move the ball very quickly. Peterborough especially. Do you know how slowly they'd move that ball amongst their back four? And all it let us do was it let us harry and get numbers forward and leave them with no options when they then knock it long. I thought that sort of made it a little bit easier for us. Is that me being harsh on them, or is that me not giving us enough credit for the way we set up?
Well, do you know what? We've seen 3 teams come down to Kings Meadow in the last month, in Charlton, Doncaster and Peterborough, and they literally all play the same way. They all play the same way in terms of they like to get the ball from the back. So they bait their centre-halves like to split and get the ball and play from the back, and then use the midfield link and that way. And all the teams have been the same. And it felt to me in a way, do you remember we were talking after the Charlton game, we talked about the high press, and in the Charlton game, we could have been a couple of goals up. We played the high press, Charlton lost the balls in mad positions, and really we should have capitalised. But it looks in a way like we've actually, Charlton, like I say, them 3 teams, they have the same style. They have obviously different personnel, but they all have the same style, and also doing well in the league, which is interesting in terms of that. But it looked like we'd learned from the Charlton game. Then after getting a win against Doncaster, we learned, going back just quickly to the Peterborough game last night, Wordsworth joined in the press, and then Steve Seddon and Toby Civic were high as anything, position-wise, not obviously on the old, but they... And in the end, it squeezed it. And where we laughed at, the key was getting grief for wasting time. It wasn't, because he just wanted to go short all the time. But I think they all have I know what I would rather watch. I don't like the tippy-tappy pass. Because you're right, in the end, Doncaster, we were able to stifle them. Marquis was getting frustrated because he wasn't getting the ball. He was getting involved in arguments. That's why he got sent off, because he was on a yellow. He wasn't on a yellow for being stupid. Then he wouldn't have got a sending off from Ramsdale stitching him up. But, I know what the style we've got is great, I think. Do you know what I mean? I know what style I'd rather watch, because it was pretty boring. The only thing I thought was actually Charlton were decent, but I think Peterborough had more match winners. But, Tony, Maddison, they have some excellent players. Just, in the end, we worked harder than them. But, Doncaster, for a team doing so well, was... Yeah, Joe, I didn't think they was as great as I thought they were going to be, and it probably shows you that this league isn't as great well. We actually haven't said it's a great league. To be fair, we've actually said, you know what, there's a couple of teams, but the league isn't that great. And do you know what? We've got a system that works and personnel that can play it. We're doing quite well.
Yeah, and it's a point we talked about last week about the age of the squad as well. You spoke about the centre halves that are working really well for us at the moment, and then the goalkeeper, like I say, 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 23-year-old. It's ridiculous. I guess in the back of my mind, I'm looking at it going, the inexperience and the youthful nature of the side. 22 is the average age of the starting lineup at present.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's great that we're doing so well with it. You also have it in the back of your mind that with that comes inconsistency. With that comes errors that are going to happen, which we do see. I thought Will was named man of the match on Tuesday. I didn't have any complaints with that per se, but of course you still have these moments where you think, what are you doing with air? And Toby Sibbick is the same, and Anthony Hartigan the same. It's all right, but I'm just wary of it. That's what I'm saying.
But they're learning on the job, aren't they? They're learning on the job, and Steve Steddon is I think, Joe, what? Sometimes you get frustrated with loans because they don't work out and they're not very good. Jake Jervis, for one example. He's the biggest example of the whole lot. But Steve Steddon, you look and think, wow. It's frustrating because you sort of think the better he plays, Birmingham are not going to let him go. they're going to take him back. Because you sort of like, in a way, go, do you know what? It'd be great we keep holding him because he has a different dimension. Toby Civic is behind in terms of, he's not a Steve Steddon. I think they're different levels, I'm being honest with you. But they're learning on the job. Anthony Hartigan was better. I've said to you a couple of times, I felt, is it his sort of game? And it probably still isn't. It probably, this type of formation and style of play probably isn't his style. But he probably done the pass of he did the pass the first half. The second half, obviously, Wordsworth was the pass for Connolly to go through. But Anthony Hartigan done a great ball with the outside of his foot to Seddon, who, believe it or not, was in a penalty area again, and headed into the keeper. But I think Hartigan at the moment needs to play in a team like Peterborough or Doncaster because he needs the ball, doesn't he? But they're learning on the job. Paul Canambaye, if someone went there new and went, how old do you think he is? I don't think they would actually know his age. I think they would probably put a couple of years on him because he's playing more mature than what he is. But even though there's mistakes happening, 3 clean sheets on the spin, and relatively low numbers of chances against us. So they're doing well, and to beat teams that are going to playoff places, back-to-back home games, they're not doing too bad.
And actually it brings me back to what I think I've said in the past about making mistakes, whereas previously at the start of the season and then last season, we'd have games where not a lot happened, but we'd be the ones that would make a slip and we'd get punished for it. And this past week, we're seeing that we've not made those mistakes that we've been punished for, and the opposition have. And I can't remember which Doncaster player it was, but that header straight to the feet of Pigott for the opening goal on Saturday. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. The only other thing then I think I want to talk about in terms of the games is individuals who aren't in the team. Like you've mentioned Bartram and Connolly not starting because there's not a place for them. Mitch Pinnock, what's going on?
He's another thing. The formation doesn't suit him. The thing is, you need the players we've got on the bench are probably more. Hanson, of course, can go in there and can replace either Falevi or Pigott, and McLaughlin can go in there and replace Wagstaff or Hartigan or Wordsworth. He can play in one of those 3. But the subs, if you look at it, really are formation changes, much as so. You've got Bartram, Connolly, Pinnock. If they come on, you're going to have to change the formation, which is what we did on Tuesday night. But in a 3-5, I think what he's gone is, I need to find a formation. We can't keep swapping these formations around. I think he likes the 3 at the back. He likes compact midfield, and the fullbacks the wing backs he likes to have pace. So I think he's found his formation now, and I think he's gone with, do you know what, this is the formation I want, and the personnel has to fit it, which is why Bartram doesn't play, because I don't think Bartram is disciplined enough to go both ways. Obviously, he come on against Doncaster because they were down to 10 men. So realistically, everything was going to be going forward, and then he probably wasn't going to be tested behind. But I think Pinnock is simple formation. He just can't play in that. Like if France say played devil's advocate, if you were going to bring him on last night, where would you have played him? I just didn't see a position last night in that formation that he would have been the best person for.
And also, as you've noticed, I think I've been guilty of taking this for granted, actually, and I think maybe some of the fans have. You've already touched on it. Wordsworth's set-piece delivery, which we've talked about for a long time, haven't we? We talked about it a lot last season, about how poor we are at set-pieces and scoring goals from set-pieces, and okay, we've not scored from them. But every single time, the quality in there felt like we could get something. And as you say, Hansen comes on, and there's your big threat. There's the guy in the air that's going to win these headers.
The areas he put the balls in last night, the first half, their keeper couldn't come out for anything. Just couldn't come out. They were flat as anything. They were curling in. You sort of like, the only thing I think we need to work on was maybe our runs around it. A lot of them went back stick. But you sort of sense, early in the season, I felt it didn't matter if we got a free kick or a corner because we just didn't score from them. Do you know what I mean? We just didn't look dangerous from them. But now at the moment, we've got a genuine threat. Wordsworth, don't get me wrong, I think Wordsworth was better in set pieces than he was in open play. I didn't think he had a great game last night. I think he a lot of square balls, and I didn't think he won the tackles that he needed to. But when we're talking about substitutions, the great thing about McLaughlin's come on twice now, late on against Doncaster and against Peterborough, and he basically he snaps around the midfield, doesn't he? He's at people's ankles, doesn't give them a moment's break, breaks up play. It's really, the subs are interesting. It's sort of like, in a way, it's like get the 70 minutes and then go and win the game. And the only thing you have to think about, does that work against a team that is not... Because Doncaster and Peterborough are always going to come for us because they're playoff chasing teams. They're always going to try and attack. The flip side now is we go to Team Southend. We've got Gillingham to come to us, who are not necessarily going to go all out attack against us. Do we change a different formation? But our record, as we've looked at already, is really good against the teams around us in the bottom. I was going to say bottom 4. You might as well say bottom 10 because everybody is in it, which is great news.
It's bottom half, and actually that's exactly what I was going to talk about. We'll play with the running order this week, and let's talk about Southend on Saturday and the league in general, because as we've been talking, a couple of weeks ago we were 9 points adrift of safety. We're now 9 points adrift of the top half. Plymouth are 12th. They are the bottom of the top, as it were, on 45 points. We are 9 points away from them. It's quite incredible. You talked about the quality of this division, and I think that's evidence of it, because it's concertina. It's ridiculous how tight everything is. We're still 4 points adrift to safety. Goal difference is still the second worst in the division, so we just have to be mindful of that, of course. But it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? Have we peaked too soon? Has this form that we are on, with 9 games to go, there is still the possibility. Because I remember when we stayed up in League 2, I think with 6 games to go, everything was looking fine. We'd picked up on a good run. We'd gone to Aldershot and won. We'd beaten York at home. Everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, I think we had 3 1-0 defeats on the bounce, and we were right back in the mire. And that could happen.
Yeah, it could do. And I get what you mean. And we've always said it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? And stuff like that. But we had to do the run now, because if we didn't, we'd been relegated. If we hadn't won these games, that was our 10th win. Which, if we thought about beginning of the year, and I haven't got a league table to hand, but if we'd thought at the turn of the year that we would get 10 wins in this league, you pretty much laughed, because we just couldn't buy a win, could we? Not that we obviously do that. But that was our 10th win. I think we had to hit form eventually. We have. Is it too early? I don't know. I think one thing we're going to have to, for people that think we're going to now all of a sudden just got out of, jump out of the bottom 4 and be safe, we're going to be in this 9 games. It's going to be 9 cup finals, as what he said. They're all cup finals. But if you look at Plymouth and teams like that, Plymouth to me have been winning, and I think they're still. I found it amazing actually. Plymouth, I think, are 5th in the form table at the moment. I think we're 2nd or 3rd from memory.
2nd, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought Plymouth just seems to keep winning all the time. They're winning their home games, but Plymouth still have not really moved that far away. They're 5 points out of the bottom 4. Yeah, you would think their form's been pretty decent recent. So I think we're not going to be out of it. We're going to have to go to Bradford and get something, whether it's a draw or a win. We're going to have to go to Bradford and get something. But yeah, have we peaked too early? Maybe. But it's set it up so nicely now. One thing we cannot moan about now, if we get relegated in the season, is that this team hasn't had a go. That was the one thing that I've been saying on the podcast going through February time. We've got to have a go. If we didn't get relegated, make sure the other teams know that we were in it and we just didn't surrender our League One position. Now we've had a go. So if we do get relegated, Wally has no trouble, in my opinion, of keeping his job next year. We now know that we've got a manager that, you know what, is pretty exciting if he gets his transfer window to himself. But it's in our hands. You know, we play. It's ridiculous when you look at it. We play Bradford, we play Oxford, we play Scunthorpe, we play Gillingham, we play Bristol Rovers, we play Accrington, we play Wickham, all in the end of the season. We can't moan that we weren't able to affect it. We have it there for us to do. I don't know about you, Nick, but I think I didn't bother cutting my nails this week because I was biting them like anything. I've never been so nervous, and these 9 games I think they're going to age us, aren't they? Well, not you, because you're ageless, so you don't age.
I did actually age this year, so I'm 25 now. But
yeah, but I think we're going to look a lot older. I think a lot of fans are going to go through it because I don't know about you, but the last 2 home games have been pretty end of games have been like holding on. But yeah, I think we can't mate. It's in our hands. We've got some great games coming up, and it would just be nice to see some teams under pressure, and let's see how they deal with it.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm looking at the league table. Bradford and Oxford in the bottom 4 with us. We still need to play. Above that, unbelievably, above those 2, the next lowest ranked team that we still have to play is Southend. Southend have not won in 9 games, and they are right down in the mire now, 2 points above the relegation zone. This is the most inexplicably, well, I don't know what the word is. It's just inexplicable what is going on there. How is that squad and that team 18th in the division, 2 points above the relegation zone? Is it motivation? What is it?
I don't know, to be honest with you. We all think they've got a decent manager. You know, it's been on social media. I think a lot of people felt Chris Powell had been a good, Neil Hardy was struggling last season, or even, we felt actually that would be a good signing. I don't know, but you know what? One thing you do know about Southend crowd is they will be on their back. Let's be fair, they'll be on their back if they had to. You know what? When I look at the squad, I'm just looking at the team that played against Scunthorpe. There isn't many. You got Turner at the back, who's been there a little while. You got Cox up front, who I think's in it. I would love him to be at Wimbledon, but he really doesn't. He decides when he turns it on or not. Do you know what I mean? He's not consistent this year.
I have to just say at this point, do you mean you're talking about Simon Cox? When you say they've got Cox up front, I'm thinking Niall Ranger's left, isn't he?
I just think when you look at their squad, it isn't actually that great. So Southend always go through difficult stages, don't they, where they have money, they don't have money, or they have money that they don't really have and still use it, and then close to going administration. They're that sort of club, aren't they, Southend? But what it is, we talk about the 6-pointers. Saturday, and we're going to have a lot of 6-pointers, but Saturday is the classic 6-pointer because there's 6 points between us. And Southend know full well that if we win at Boots Hall, they are 3 points away, and they're probably going to be potentially could be in the bottom 4. And there's teams. Remember I was saying to you before, there was teams that really haven't been under pressure. Now at this stage of the season, the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be a team that's been mid-table or mid to top half or going for playoffs. You don't want to be that team that all of a sudden drops into the bottom 4 later on, because what you tend to find is the teams that have been there all season are serial fighters and they've been up against it all year. If you come into it late, that can be a little bit of a scary thing. And if you look at it, the ones that are coming in late are Southend and Accrington. They're the one. Accrington started the league off great, didn't they? Good cup run, but they are dropping like a stone. So they're the two teams. The two teams that I think are the ones that will be catchable are Accrington. Well, they're all catchable in terms of point-wise, but I think Accrington and Southend are the ones that I think, do you know what? I think they may end up going on a run that they can't get out of.
Looking ahead to the fixtures, you've mentioned that Southend could drop into the bottom four if we win there. What would that be? 3 wins on the bounce? We need to do some research. I might get you to entertain the listeners whilst I research the last time we won 3 league games in a row. It might not have ever happened.
Get a nosebleed down.
I don't think it's happened in League One. I will look anyway. Looking at fixtures for Saturday, I mean, you've mentioned it there. Accrington. I mean, there's so many teams that are potentially in the mix here that every game seems to have something riding on it now, which is incredible. So Accrington Stanley versus Rochdale on Saturday, huge game. Oxford versus Bradford is an absolutely massive game. Shrewsbury, Wycombe, Southend, and then us. Look at some of the other teams that I'd be keeping my eye on. Gillingham are away at Luton. I don't want to jinx it for Luton's sake, but you'd hope Luton would win that one. Sunderland are at home to Warsaw.
You're right, though. There's loads, isn't there? You know, you look at Bristol Rovers Charlton. Bristol Rovers scored, if you haven't seen the goals yet, scored an absolute worldie against Gillingham to beat them 1-0 at the Priestfield. So they then at home to Charlton. Charlton, you would probably expect to go and win there. Fleetwood, Plymouth. I think Plymouth are probably far enough. I think Plymouth are far enough to not worry about them. Yeah. Can you see Luton not beating Gillingham? No. Oxford, Bradford. Oh, that's great. Second from bottom against fourth from bottom. Both their fans think they're bigger clubs than what they are. That would be great fun. Pompey home to Scunthorpe. You expect a Pompey win, although Pompey they're spluttering a little bit. Typical Pompey under pressure, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? But they got a good win at Walsall. Shrewsbury, Wycombe. Can Wycombe still be bought into it? Possibly. Obviously us against Southend, and then Walsall going to Sunderland. You sort of see at the moment, people are sort of saying we've got to keep winning. I think the main thing is we don't lose. So, yes, it would be great to bring Southend into the mix a bit more, but they are in it. But going to Roots Hall on Saturday and getting a draw isn't the worst result. The main thing is don't lose, because it means it just keeps the confidence going, because we have got teams visiting us. But, yeah, you're right, because there's so many teams in it. Literally, it's every match day is going to be fun. I'm enjoying it. I don't know about you, but I hated being bottom without us even doing anything to try and come off the bottom of the league. But it's so much more fun now. Can only enjoy it, Nick.
There is light at the end of what was a very dark tunnel. It was so dark under that tunnel you could nick someone's banana from under their nose.
Where did that come from?
There'll be people listening that will know. Saturday then, prediction for Southend. Let's do that now. I agree with you wholeheartedly there about what you're saying about not losing, because actually on Tuesday night I was quite happy. I'd settled for a 0-0. It was a bit of a bonus, those extra 2 points, because I'd settled for a 0-0. I thought that'd be fine. That was a bit of a bonus. But again, as much as we want to get excited and think let's keep it going and let's get to within 3 points of Southend, a point, not the end of the world. It would then be 4 unbeaten. So I'd quite happily settle for a 0-0 at Southend. Sorry if that sounds very boring and not very ambitious, but there you go.
It's not. I don't think it'll be 0-0, I'll be being truthful. Southend, when you look at them, like I say, if you look at their goals they can see against Scunthorpe, set pieces galore. I think 2 free kicks, 1 corner, and they can see goals in bunches as well. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me just check, but I think the goals against, they were all bunches. So it was 1-0 until the 68th minute, and they conceded on the 68th, 73rd, and 77th. The week before, I think they'd done the same against Barnsley, and Barnsley were down to 10 men at Roots Hall. So there definitely is a confidence problem where they're conceding goals in bunches. So I think we'll do exactly what we did this time. We'll keep it tight. Our prayer was to keep the same team, and then the impact subs, Hansen, Connolly, because I think they are match winners, and all they need is 20 minutes. That's all they need. I have a feeling we'll go there and win. I don't think we'll lose, put it that way, but I don't think it'll be 0-0. I think we'll win there.
Now, you can tell that we've won matches and we're suddenly feeling a little bit more optimistic about everything, because it's 43 minutes that we've been talking according to my timer. And there are 2 other subjects I wanted to touch on this week. First of all, we finally got an announcement about Head of Recruitment, appointed Nick Dawes until the end of the season. This was all very strange, wasn't it? appointment that we knew was going to be made, that then went very quiet, that we expected to happen almost as soon as the January transfer window opened. Don't know exactly when he joined us. Eric's program note said he's been with us a little while, which is wonderfully unspecific. And apparently we didn't announce it prior to because of some contract situation with Scunthorpe. It all sounds very... I'm a little bit dubious of that. I'm thinking, what possible... If he's employed by us, why can't we announce it? It's all very daft to me. Anyway, it was handled strangely. Buried away in Eric's program notes, and then on the day of the Doncaster game, on which his program notes appeared, we put an article. It looked like a hastily arranged article on the website, but a little bit odd. But anyway, yes, to the end of the season, it seems like he's just doing a bit of a behind-the-scenes back office job in terms of putting processes in place for us, perhaps for somebody else to come in the summer.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like the idea of, we know we have a head of recruitment. We've never had a head of recruitment, so it's quite a big milestone for us, I believe, because it's the first one we've had. It's one we desperately need. I'm a little bit concerned that it was. I don't understand why it had to be in Eric's notes in the program. You're right. It then was. I think it was a hastily put together tweet and a story that went out, because why would you release that information on a match day that can easily get lost? Or did we want it to get lost? I don't know. He's got a good reputation. He's been a manager before. He's obviously looking. It looks like it's a job to the end of the season. That's the same thing I was saying. That is, do head of recruitment. Surely there's only 2 windows now, isn't there? So the days are gone where you can pick up loans, etc. But there's only 2 windows now. So the work he's doing now surely is for the end of the season. And I was chatting to someone, I'm not going to name who they are, but someone that I trust quite well, who said, actually, do you know what? You can't snooze in a transfer window. You literally have to act. Literally, as soon as that season finishes, probably even the week before, you have to be on the money, because that's when a lot of business is done. So you can actually, if you don't get in there too early, you can actually miss out, which seems crazy, but that's the way it is. So I think a lot of work he's doing is ready for that. If he's not going to be here next season, and we're reading a lot in between the lines, but it did say, didn't it? I think it's the end of the season or short. There was some word.
I think it was end of the season. Was
yeah. So surely a head of recruitment is judged on their by their recruitment. That's their aim. So are we we're trusting in a way, aren't we? Someone coming in and going, rate him, get him, who might be gone in August. Well, where's the buck stop with then? So that's the concern I have in terms of head of recruitment. I think I'm happy with it. I just don't know why it needs to be in Eric's notes. I think that should be a big story. I don't think there's been an interview, if I'm correct in saying that.
It's almost like a clandestine appointment that we're not meant to know about it, and it's just meant to be faded into the background, which, like I say, if it's a short-term thing just to get some processes in place for us, then I get, but we sort of bigged it up a little bit, this role, and I want to know more about it. I'm fascinated by it, to be honest with you, because it's such a left field appointment to me as well. Wally said in his program notes on Tuesday that he managed him at Bury, or not managed him, sorry, coached him at Bury 25 years ago, before I was born, basically. And then he's somebody that's playing career is all up in Lancashire and Yorkshire. His coaching career, Barnsley, Rotherham, and then obviously managing at Scunthorpe. So where's this come? Is there a Glyn Hodges link somewhere that I haven't spotted? Possibly. But did we advertise for the job, or was he headhunted because of the connections with the current management team? There's so many questions.
Yeah, there is. And Waddy obviously was up at Sheffield United, wasn't he? Going back many years. So, what football's was like. It's very much a very close-knit community, isn't it? But you have to think that Waddy's had some involvement in that. I don't think Waddy is I think we can quite safely say, I don't think Waddy's a character who will allow someone just to be said, look, here's your head of recruitment. I think he would want a big say in it. So obviously, if Waddy trusts this person to come in and do a good job till the end of the season, then do you know what? There's no problem with that, because Waddy, that's his prerogative, and I think we trust in what he does there. The only thing that concerns me is we've made more of an injured player getting a call up but we've made more of that than we have on head of recruitment, which is massive. So why are we not making such a big deal? I don't get that, but welcome. This gives us a little game we can do. What's the score of Jaws Doors? That gives us a little bit of a laugh, doesn't it? But yeah, hey, look, I know. But Head of Recruitment is massive. He's judged on what he gets in the window. I suppose you could argue now he's probably going. Well, there must be two budgets. We always have two budgets, don't we? Even though we've not heard from the Football Club Board about what's happening with budgets, I'm guessing we're going to hear something about that in the Dons Trust board meeting in early April or mid-April, sorry. But he's obviously going to be looking for two types of players, isn't he? Because one that play one in League One or one that play League Two. So even that, with us putting a run together now, it's going to be a challenge for the Head of Recruitment to go, well, I've got to do two jobs really and two probably sets of lists.
Yeah, and that's perhaps why it's, like I say, in he comes, gets things ready behind the scenes, and then someone else comes in. We wait to see. You've mentioned Kwesi Appiah there, the Ghanaian international. People are not happy with this. I am just totally flummoxed by this Kwesi Appiah story. So a player that's not played for Ghana for 4 years. 2015 was the last time he played for them. He's been injured pretty much consistently since then. Consistently or constantly? Constantly is probably the better word. And he's currently injured. So what's happened to Ghana? By the way, the strongest performing African nation over the past 10 years, I would venture, that they're suddenly having to call up injured League One striker Kwesi Appiah. It's all very weird, isn't it?
Well, you wonder whether their coach has watched Match of the Day on a bit of a delay and seen he scored a goal against West Ham. Probably done no background checks to see that he's currently injured or he's obviously currently coming back from injury. Hey, look, do you know what? I think we want to get as many players back as we can. We've just got James Hansen back in, and we've finally seen what the strike force was supposed to be like, if they were fit. And Kwesi adds to that. Kwesi come back from injury, was on fire. Started getting his confidence back, scoring goals, thinking back to the goals in the cup games, against away at Fleetwood and home to West Ham. He was scoring goals and getting into really good positions. We want to, as fans, benefit from that. And we've been very loyal to Kwesi Appiah. He's on a 3-year contract. He spent most of that time on sick leave. And really, we should be the one to benefit from. So, of course, naturally, fans are going to be disappointed that it looks like he potentially could play for Ghana before he plays for us, or he could be training. That's the frustration. I wonder if there's a subplot to it. The fact is, if he goes over there and does what he normally does and gets injured, then Ghana could play the insurance on his wages and we actually save some money. Maybe that's to it.
Not that we'd wish injury on him, of course. He's been injured.
No, but we know that. But we also know. Let's be realistic. We know that he gets injured. Is it sensible, realistically, that he? So, is it a call up or is it an invitation? I believe it was an invitation, wasn't it, to go and be with Ghana?
No,
or is
he's been called up to the squad. So they've got they've got African Cup of Nations game against Kenya on the day that we play Gillingham, March the 23rd. So it would just be one game that he would miss for us. But, like I say, yeah, he's injured. It's odd. But okay. I've got to be honest, because also there are people saying that previous players had decided not to take up the option of going to play for their national teams when called up. Lyle Taylor, for example, Darius Charles. Now, I don't want to sound bad, but I'm going to sound bad. They're nations that perhaps... Do you know what I mean? This is an African Cup of Nations tie for a big country, for one of the better countries, not lesser nations that are not going to really do anything on the world stage. So I think there's a slight difference. And if it's me, I'm not going to lie, I pick my country over my club. I'm sorry. You know me, Stu. I'm very patriotic. I love my country. I am English and I'm very proud to be English. And if I was pulled up for my nation, then I'd be going. I've got to be honest.
Yeah. Joe, what? There's a couple of ways of looking at this. So I'm actually just being nosy as we're talking. And he's basically been called up because of the Ghana captain, who is Asamoah Gyan, who played for Sunderland. Yeah. Remember him? Quite charismatic. He's injured, and they've got a They got a qualifier against Kenya. So that's basically why he's been called up. But I suppose there's two questions you ask. Could we refuse to send him? And then if he doesn't turn out, he's then automatically banned from playing for us anyway. From memory, there's a ruling, isn't there? If you don't go, so if we said he was injured, he didn't go, he's still banned. He can't play for us because he's banned.
Because we've said he's injured.
International. Yeah. So if he's fit, he has to go. Should he turn down the international appearance? I think do you know what? I think, yes, you know what? International appearances is great, but we are his employer. And as fans, we're going to be selfish. You know, we are trying to stay up. We've paid his wages when he's been sick. He is sick leave. I know he's injured, but it's technically paying as a sick note, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? How long got for? 3 months. But should we not be the team that benefits from that? So I think it's a very dangerous ground because financially, if we get relegated, it's big consequences for us. And financially, we paid his salary whilst he's been injured. He hasn't been deliberately injured, but he has been injured. And to miss a 6-pointer against Gillingham, which is a game he's going to miss, that's massive. We could be, let's be fair at the moment. Would he go straight back into starting lineup? No, I don't think he would. I think for Levy and Piggott have done enough to stay in there. But to have him on the bench would be a massive, massive boost. There's two ways. Fans are going to go two ways. I just think the timing's rubbish. I really do, especially as someone who hasn't actually played for what we're looking at now. 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah,
easily
from before the Millwall game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I say, they've watched obviously Match of the Day on a delay. They've not realised that was actually in February, and he's been injured for most of the season. But hey, do you know what? All I would say is I think the club sometimes need to have a little bit of an understanding of how fans feel about certain things. And we've, in my opinion, yes, it's an international call-up, but we have bigged it up. We've bigged it up a little bit too much, in my opinion, and we haven't done much on the head of recruitment. So let's just have a bit of an understanding how fans are at the moment. And it does hit a little bit of a sour note.
And on that sour note is how we will end this week's, shall we say, hastily arranged, unscripted, many things that we've not done this week.
Who needs a script?
It means we've run out of time for many of our usual features, including Wally with a Trolley. We just have to go without this week.
Well, that's a shame.
Gutted.
That's a
Gutted.
Shame. I'll keep talking more often.
Please don't. So that is it. Thank you for joining us. I've got nothing to say. Updates from the Southend game will be available on Twitter.
You're still in shock, aren't you?
I am still in shock. What that we've won games and kept clean sheets and scored goals and all that business.
We have no idea how to be upbeat, and that's why we've talked so much. It's because actually this is the happiest we've been all season.
With football, yeah.
Of course.
I mean, there are other things I've been quite happy about. I think the fact that Alexa Bliss is going to be hosting WrestleMania has made me very happy, but that's enough wrestling talk for one day. Although saying that, Stu, very quickly, do you think they really should have gone for the Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair triple threat match at WrestleMania, or should they not have just gone for the match we all wanted, which was Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch 1-on-1?
I have no idea. Can I just... Do you know what? I will do some WWE talk. I do apologise to all our listeners in advance. But I don't know if you saw the Billy Sharp situation where he done a celebration with a sock.
Oh, he did he? Did he really? The Mick Foley classic.
Mick Foley was at the game for Sheffield United beat.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. They had a chat afterwards about it, and he was at the game. And he was talking about it, and he said about the celebration, and it was quite interesting. He sounded quite normal.
Quite normal. Well, he's got one up on you.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I didn't realise. Is that some sort of like? Is that like some sort of celebration he does when he does a certain move?
It was like a move he used to have.
Does he smell? Does it smell and it knocks them out? Is that the case?
Do you know, it's a long story that people are listening that don't like wrestling will be like, stop talking. Basically, it all goes back to a skit many years ago with Vince McMahon, who owns WWF, and he tried to this particular man, Mick Foley, tried to entertain Mr. McMahon whilst he was in the hospital with various things, including a sock puppet, which he then became something he used on his finishing move, where he put a sock on his hand.
Do you know what? This is what we're going to have to do, right? And we know Anthony Wordsworth has listened to this podcast. We are going to put a little snippet out, I think, and we're going to send it to Anthony and say, if you score a goal or anyone scores a goal, you've got to do this celebration. There we are. Okay.
If we send a snippet of this podcast out, this particular podcast out, I'm going to send the snippet out where you said, didn't think Wordsworth played very well, actually, should have done better in the tackle, and his passing was poor. And I'm going to tweet him at A-words with those exact words.
Hey, look, we're a podcast. We're honest. We say it how it is. We're fans. Nothing wrong in that. I've not been rude about him. I've not told him that I want to do...
Stop.
Anyway,
Let's stop that one there. Thank you for joining us this week. Updates, as I was saying, from Southend. On Twitter, at 9YRS Podcast. AFC Wimbledon Business Club this week. They, Stu, I've decided off the top of my head, are going to go snorkelling with former Manchester City centre-half Michael Vonk. Thank you for joining me this week, Stu.
Thank you.
Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. We will speak to you again next week.